Let me tell you something right off the bat. If you ever think your neighborhood can't turn into a circus overnight, you've never met a woman like Barbara armed with a laser printer and the confidence of a televangelist on payday. I'm not kidding. This woman tried to erase me as a father, not with a gun or a lawyer, but with one phony sheet of paper and the righteous energy of a demon in a navy blazer. Pull up a chair. Yeah, you'll want to hear this. It's the story of how a grieving widow almost lost his only son, not to the court or to fate, but to the sheer delusional willpower of a neighbor with way too much time on her hands. This all went down just a couple months after my wife Maya died, giving birth to our baby, Leo. I was deep in that tunnel of new dad sleep deprivation and heartbreak, trying to hold it together, just me, a 2-month-old who smelled like milk and heaven, and a washing machine making noises I couldn't afford to fix. My world was small, fragile, and mine. Leo had Maya's eyes, wise, brown, soulful, the only thing holding me together. So when Barbara from across the street came marching over one Tuesday, clutching a manila folder like it was her ticket to heaven, I figured sure HOA complaint or something, right? Wrong. She plants herself at the foot of my porch steps. Picture the kind of woman who always looks like she's about to fire somebody and hits me with, "Jamal, we need to talk." I'm thinking, did I forget? Trash day, new lawn rule? Nope. Instead, she whips out a paper gold seal and all and announces loud enough for the squirrels to hear that she's holding the birth certificate for her son, Michael. Points a finger at my sleeping Leo and tells me with zero irony that I've been living a lie. That's her boy and she's here to take him home. Now, I'm not a man who scares easy, but I'm also not one to pick a fight with the truly unhinged. You know what I mean? Something in her eyes. The absolute conviction told me I was up against something bigger than crazy. This wasn't a joke, wasn't some neighborly misunderstanding. This was a full-blown one-woman custody war, and it was happening on my porch with my son still snoring against my shoulder. I tried logic. Barbara, this is Leo, my son, born at St. Jude's 2 months ago. I've got the real paperwork inside. But she just looks at me like I'm a child caught stealing cookies. "You grieving people in your stories," she says, waving her official-looking document. "But see, I'm a graphic designer. Fonts, margins, these things are my bread and butter." Her certificate was bad. Like Times New Roman, here Arial, there Google image seal blurry. Not even a good forgery. I actually felt a little insulted. When I asked her to leave, she snapped, yelling that I was holding her child hostage, making enough noise for Mrs. Gable next door to peek out from behind her curtains. Great, now I had an audience. I put myself between her and the door, told her if she took another step, I was calling the police. That seemed to snap her back to reality for a second. She switched to a low, menacing voice, promised the truth will come out, and stormed off, but not before burning a hole in me with her stare. You'd think that'd be it, right? That a neighbor would snap out of it or maybe just avoid you at the mailbox. Nope. She started the next day quiet at first. I'd take Leo for a walk, and the neighbors who used to wave would suddenly be busy with the azaleas or, like Mr. Henderson, drop a letter just to avoid eye contact. It was subtle but clear. She'd been talking spinning tales about the unstable widower who'd stolen a baby in his grief. Brilliant in its evil way, she was building a narrative turning my support system into a jury. The battle was no longer just for my son. Now it was for the truth, and let me tell you, truth without backup is a fragile thing. A few days later, things escalated. I'm in the grocery store, baby strapped to my chest, just trying to remember if we're out of milk. Suddenly, Barbara's there, tears and all, dragging the store manager into it. That's the man. He stole my son. The people around me start staring like I'm about to run off with a sack of gold. I kept it together, barely told Dave, the manager, she's harassing me. But Barbara had the crowd, and I couldn't win that fight in the dairy aisle. So I left, abandoned my cart, walked out with Leo, pride in tatters. That was her new weapon, public humiliation, stacking the odds, daring me to blow up and look like the bad guy. But the worst wasn't the embarrassment. It was the realization. People will always believe the crying mother over the angry black man, no matter how gentle the baby, no matter how good the story. Ugly truth, but that's the world we live in. So I did what any decent dad would. I pulled every document, every bracelet, every photo, and I got methodical. I wasn't just going to play defense anymore. I started documenting everything. Took high-res photos of Leo's real paperwork, made sure I was ready for the next ambush. But I knew deep down it wouldn't end there. I was right. The next week, 2 CPS agents showed up at my door, badges and all. My heart about stopped, but I let them in, house spotless, formula stocked. Leo cooing in the playpen. I handed over every document, calmly explained my wife's death, my son's birth, and Barbara's campaign. I watched their faces, saw the doubt clear as they examined the evidence. "This is all in order," Sandra, the lead agent, finally said. "We'll be closing this case as unfounded." The relief nearly knocked me over, but it was hollow because I knew Barbara wasn't done. She'd only get more desperate. That's when something snapped in me. I wasn't just going to survive this, I was going to finish it. I needed proof, motive, and a way to share the truth with everyone she'd poisoned against me. So I called my friend Marcus. He knows about neighborhood drama, let's just say. I asked him to do some undercover neighbor work, get a photo of her fake document. Operation Trojan Neighbor was a go. 20 minutes later, I had a crystal clear shot of the forgery, and man, was it bad. Pixelated seals, brush script signatures, and a cut and paste job that would embarrass a middle schooler. But the kicker, the letter A in Michael was a different font. That's how you know someone's using a template and didn't bother checking their work. But the twist, Mrs. Elelenina, the oldest resident on the block, finally gave me the missing piece. She told me Barbara lost a baby years ago, a boy she was going to name Michael. The loss broke her, and when Maya died and Leo arrived, it snapped something loose inside Barbara. Suddenly I understood. Didn't make it less terrifying, but it explained the depth of her obsession. So I prepared my final play. The neighborhood block party was coming, and I decided that's my courtroom. I spent a week turning my house into a design war room, scanning documents, building a forensic PowerPoint, circling every flaw in Barbara's fake. I even borrowed a projector. My plan: show everyone a slideshow, start with Leo's baby pics, then switch gears, go full TED Talk on how to spot a bad forgery. No yelling, no drama, just cold, calm, professional truth. Block party day, grills, fired kids running wild, everyone pretending not to know there's a storm brewing. I set up the projector, told folks I had a cute slideshow for the new baby. People gathered. Barbara, too, with her grieving mother act dialed up to 11. I started with the photos, won the crowd over, then dropped the hammer. Some of you have heard a story about my son, about Barbara. I'm here to set the record straight. And then I showed her fake certificate, blew up the pixelated seal, the Comic Sans signature that mismatched A. I walked everyone through it point by point, just like I'd practiced. By the end, people weren't just staring at the screen, they were staring at her. Barbara tried one last desperate move, claimed I was the real forger, that I could have faked it all. But her husband Tom stepped out from the crowd, looked her in the eye, and said, "Barb, Michael's gone. We have to stop this." That was it. The delusion shattered. Barbara collapsed in tears, her pain raw, real, and public. The party ended with neighbors packing up in silence, the truth now plain for all to see. And you know what the aftermath was? Peace. The suspicion lifted. People apologized, brought food, offered help. Even the new folks who moved into Barbara's house were quick to make friends. My slideshow became a running joke. Don't cross Jamal, or you'll end up in his PowerPoint. But the respect was real. I'd faced down a lie with nothing but the truth and a good eye for fonts, and I'd won back my place in the community. Sometimes the worst battles aren't the ones fought in courtrooms or with fists, but the quiet wars for your own story, your own child, your own truth. In the end, Barbara's attempt to destroy me built something stronger, a real community, a village for Leo, a legacy I'd fight for any day of the week. So let me ask you, what would you have done in my shoes? Have you ever had to defend your truth when everyone believed the lie? Drop your thoughts below. Tell me where you're watching from, and if you're done with Karens and their wild stories, hit that subscribe button. Because around here we fight fire with facts and a killer slideshow.